Welcome back.
Okay.
All right. Well, we listened to it on the way to Cedar Falls. I haven't listened to the game with John Walters and Eric Heft in so long.
Yeah.
That was a blast from the past because you can understand what's going on based on their tone,
Right.
like when they're excited, when they're not excited. And we listened to the first half, and they were not excited, and there was not. Watching it back a little bit, we did not play any defense the first half, to say the least.
Yeah, and that's the fun part for me about listening to Eric and John is I think you can almost tune into any game and not hear the score and know what's going on because they wear their emotions on their sleeve kind of, and they're really calculated in some of the ways they say things when they're, you probably know in the back of your head what they're really thinking. But we did get to see some of it in a bar in downtown Cedar Falls a little bit too.
A
Hawkeye bar, yeah. And we never had any crap from anybody, so that was kind of cool. Anyway, but our defense didn't play like they are capable of. We've been saying we need to we're going to hang our hat on our defense all year, and there's been moments we have, but Saturday was not one of them. I mean, you can't give up 41 points to a Texas Tech team that has not been that great offensively this year, nor not being able to run the ball very well against them. So, yeah, giving up 41 at Texas Tech, giving up 38 at West Virginia. That's kind of the story of those two games that are probably, I would say, would you call them the most disappointing losses of the year so far? I mean, Iowa hurt, but it's just because it's Iowa.
It's Iowa.
I don't know about that.
Build up the Iowa game, the whole last year from the Iowa game, thinking, at least I can't wait to see Breece Hall and Brock Purdy finally at their peak play against Iowa, and we just absolutely laid an egg.
Yeah, so I think we're just learning that, number one, after listening to Campbell's press conference today, I think we will know later in the year how dinged up we really are. I think there's a lot of guys playing hurt and some guys that, are –
That's something from last year that no one really talked about. We were all healthy for most part last year. All their key players, because the ones that are dinged up are Mike Rose, Will McDonald, Anthony Johnson that's probably dinged up a little bit. And, it's just
Campbell went so far to say is almost – I don't think he used this word, but saying it's a heroic effort to be going through this. So he's not telling us who or what or why, what's going on, but just listening to his tone today, he was really protective of his players.
Yeah.
He was really, he really bristled up when somebody asked him, since your goal of winning the Big 12 is gone, and then he said, that's not my goal. I mean, he said that might be somebody in the outside's goal, but I've never said that. And so he's always so process driven. And I really, I heard somebody else comment on it, but then, as a guy that's had to try to deal with that mental side of games, I mean, the first time I was a head high school coach, our record in basketball, my first year was 23 years old. We were 1-19.
Yeah.
You know how much fun it is to try to get kids excited about playing?
I mean, you could speak on this.
So he's and we're not 1-19, we're not in that case, but you've got to focus on the things you can control, and then also you have to protect your players, and he's doing exactly that. So I earned an even more amount of respect for him today after listening to the way he's trying to frame this right now. Because if you go in the locker room and say, well, we're not going to win the Big 12 now, let's just do our best, we're going to turn into Texas fast, because that's what Texas is doing.
I mean, I don't really get how our fan base got so spoiled so quickly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Who are we to players have bad games, and our margin, I don't get I drank the Kool-Aid too coming in the season. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I did too. Yeah, but you're not. Yeah. Well,
if you tell me that Mike Rose, Will McDonald, all these players are dinged up, and our offensive line was very, very overrated coming the season, and they have not lived up to the hype at all.
Yeah.
And if you tell me those things, it's literally just 2019 all over again. This game, and you compare it very, very similarly to the Baylor game to 2019, where we didn't show up to the fourth quarter on offense. We played all the way back, and we lose on a field goal.
Yeah.
Baylor's field goal or field goal kicker's first field goal of the season goes in.
Yeah.
Game winner against Iowa State. It's very similar to what this was last weekend. Take away like the expectations of like last year and the players we have, but I don't know. It's just a reality check. I think.
I mean,
it's just we don't have the depth. We have a lot of good players on our depth, but not the same as Mike Rose. Like the player backing up Mike Rose is still quite a big drop off. Will McDonald's probably the biggest drop off from talent.
Yeah.
Will McDonald's was a top 10 pick coming in this year and gets dinged up, and we don't have that talent. We're not Bama. We're not Georgia. We're not Oklahoma.
Yeah, even any of those programs you listed off, you take their best player and have him removed in the middle of the season, it's going to affect them too. I mean, they're still going to bring in another 5-star, which we don't have the luxury of doing, but anytime you destroy, like I said a couple times ago, that when you take Mike Rose and or Will McDonald out of the mix, you're disrupting our flow of how things are going because we're so used to Will McDonald being able to get at the quarterback. We're so used to Mike Rose being able to cover sideline to sideline, and he's still doing it for the most part. But, I think we're just more dinged up than we give ourselves, than we probably know, but still should be Texas Tech. Texas Tech was so jacked up to play us.
People were saying in Texas Tech's press conference this week that it was a program-defining win. We've come so far and so quickly that.
How can you have a program-defining win with an interim head coach?
Yeah, I don't know, because they already have their head coach for the.
So
future.
He's not there.
But he was there, greeting the locker room and stuff after the win.
Yeah, but he's not coaching. I mean, how is that program defining? You're gonna say I'm gonna take over a job, and you're gonna have a program defining win before I start coaching. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just
I think it's like saying Paul Rhodes had
it's just a new way. This is like the first. I can see this happening in the future. You fire head coach because we knew Paul Rhodes was gonna get fired. If we'd have fired him in the middle of the season and just let him go, but that's different because Paul Rhodes is actually loved by the fan base.
Yeah,
and he took the baton from Gene Chizik, who was on the ground rolling around, and actually did something with the program rather than running to Auburn and paying players and getting Cam Newton.
Gene Chizik left us a tip on the headboard and walked out the door. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
He did give us KO. He did give us Leonard Johnson. He did give us AJ Klein.
No desire to be in
but he still gave us some good.
Sure,
good
he did.
players.
I know a guy that got recruited by him. Said he was a great guy.
Just gave us good players, just like Paul Rhodes gave Matt Campbell, Alan Lazard, Keem Butler, some key pieces, and took it and ran with it. But yeah, it's just disappointing. Our fan base is kind of unraveled there for a second, but we just got to figure out we're Iowa State, we're not Clemson, we're not Georgia. Like, as long as we have Matt Campbell, and like we used to say this with Fred, as long as we have Fred, we're going to be competing, and it's going to be fun to watch, and that's all we can ask for being an Iowa State fan. We would show up even before there was a product on the field. We'd gather and support the team. So now that we have players that don't live up to the expectations that you're setting, but they have the same expectations as you do, so there's no reason to fall off the bandwagon, which I don't know.
Well, anytime you have high expectations, you're setting yourself up for a fall.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what Campbell is trying to keep everything kind of on from he doesn't really give two craps about what we think or anybody else thinks. But I think he's trying to keep it even keel with the kids, just saying, he tries to talk about being process driven and, then you'll get what you deserve. And he's right. I mean, if we didn't deserve to win that game when you give up 207 yards on the ground to Texas Tech and you only get 89 out of your own offense on the ground. I mean,
against their third string quarterback.
Yeah. He's played
pretty good.
Well.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I mean, I think he was a little underrated, but I think probably what the most frustrating thing for me watching that game is that first of all, we should have gone down and punched in it at the end. Then it's game over. But we didn't. We settled for a field goal. So now we're setting ourselves up for what might happen at the end. It's kind of like, yes, but then they get down. They go 30 yards pretty easily.
Give me a time where we've had one play. We have to make one play to win the game. When was the last time we did that?
I don't know.
We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, but we had more than one play to win it. The game wasn't over.
Instead of kicking the field goal on 4th down and just have a dribble play and actually execute it, go under center, bobble a snap. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
When it comes down to one play, we never execute. It's just,
But we needed to figure out a way to get in the end zone on that last possession because we had a little bit of the momentum. If you look at the box score, it was still 31-21 heading into the 4th quarter.
Yeah, it's just like the Baylor game. We finally roaring back and we just lose a 62-yard field goal.
He hammered that thing too, and I think I said, we were standing in the Unidome, trying to get a signal to watch it, and then I was talking to some other Iowa State fans around there. I said, I'm pretty sure they have the wind, if I remember how the choices went.
I've heard people say there was no wind, it was calm, but I don't know. 62-yard field goal,
and it was good from 67.
We were in the dome, as you're saying, we're in the dome. I see that they're kicking a field goal. I'm trying to save my battery for after the game because when you don't have signal, it just drains your battery.
Yeah.
And I just saw, I was like, all right, he's not going to make it. I turned it off. And then someone said, hey, we lost on a 62-yard field goal. I'm like,
bummer.
Well.
So where do we go from here? We've got 2 games left, and we're staring.
Well, it's just crazy how this Oklahoma game coming up is just – it was the game of the century. It was – before the season's this is the winner goes to the playoff.
Right.
But now it's just Oklahoma comes off of getting absolutely murdered by Baylor and having QB trouble still. Caleb Williams got benched again. Rattler comes in and just looks horrible too. And the last 1 second fiasco.
Let's talk about that. That was the most bizarre thing at the end of the game when Baylor's fans run out on the field with 1 second left, and
didn't get flagged for it.
And Lincoln Riley blows a complete gasket and runs his team his team in there, and then has to run out 11 guys. And Baylor just says, "Oh, he acts like they're in junior high." And so, okay, now we're just going to kick a field goal instead.
But why? But what is Lincoln Riley supposed to react in that situation?
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't going to make it. But throwing a flag is not going to make a difference in the game.
I'm saying. The safety of your players. They're running through your players, and then there's 1 second left, and there's all right, everyone don't run away.
But the referees don't control that, though. Referees don't control the fans. That's on Baylor.
But the head coach is all right, well, at least flag him 15 yards, or there has to be some consequence from rushing on the field with 1 second left. Because if you go back to when the Michael Crabtree, when he had that incredible play and everyone stormed the field and there's 3 seconds left, there's so many flags that they were kicking off on the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
But
then
what's the difference between that and this?
Texas Tech, they moved the student section because of what happened. Somebody threw a water bottle out on the field. So I don't know. It was a mess. But I really think it – I didn't like – I think it made Baylor look really bad kicking that field goal at the end.
I get it for – take away it's a wider view. The conference, they're leaving. They're ditching the conference. They're thinking they're way better than us, and they come in to Baylor, Waco, just like Iowa State did, and lose. It wasn't really even close. Baylor could have killed them even more. Baylor, Oklahoma did not look like half of what they're usually like. And Baylor, credit to them, they slacked Oklahoma the last time they come into Waco. You're rushing the field. We're just thinking as a student, this is your one time to talk to some people that think they're way above you.
Well, that's the problem is that you don't want some drunk
I know
college student going.
That's why Lincoln Riley was so mad. I think,
right.
And I feel like you would have been the same way if it was your team.
Sure,
everyone
I think so too.
But
it would be okay. You throw the flag, big deal. It was what was it, 10-point lead at the time? It wasn't gonna make any difference in the game.
Yeah, but just call the game off. It's 1 second.
Yeah, and even the official that was in the press box said, there is no rule that says you have to have certain number of defenders on the team? They could have just snapped it and knelt without any defenders on the field, but you know exactly what Baylor would have done.
They would have ran in the end zone,
kick
punt in the crowd, and but like it also comes in a gambling issue. All these people are putting live game betting that are going to lose God knows how much money on that one play because Oklahoma just is sitting in the locker room.
Yeah,
it was a weird, like, there's so much going on in 1 second.
Yeah,
like it just shows you how fast things can turn for the worst.
Yeah. So Oklahoma's got us, obviously, and then they have to go to Oklahoma State.
That's tough.
So if they lose that, let's say we win, they lose against Oklahoma State, that gives them 3 losses.
Yeah. So they're not in the playoff. They're not going to be in the Big 12 championship either. If that's the case, it'll be Okie State versus Baylor in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah. So if Okie State, who's Okie State?
But that would hurt so bad if I was an Iowa State fan. Seeing Okie State versus Baylor, one team that we beat outright, Okie State, and another team we just let it through our fingers, Baylor, with the second or the 2-point conversion fiasco.
Yeah. So Okie State goes to Texas Tech this weekend, and then they've got OU. So I can't see Texas Tech pulling that off twice. I mean, so that's just for the fun of it. So let's say Oklahoma State loses to Texas Tech this weekend. That gives them 2 losses. We beat Oklahoma. That gives them 2 losses. So one of those 2 teams is going to have 3 losses at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right. So then if we go to Baylor, Baylor has.
Are you trying to do a scenario where we get in the play?
No, I'm just trying to figure it. So Baylor has to go to Kansas State. Let's say they lose. That gives them their 3rd loss, and they finish the season with Texas Tech. So if Texas Tech goes on a little run here,
it goes to the Sugar Bowl.
So we win out. Baylor loses out. Oklahoma loses out. It looks like it's us and Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship.
But I'm sick of doing these scenarios. Just beat West Virginia, beat Baylor, and beat Texas Tech. Well, and we're not even talking about this.
Yeah, right.
We're 3 teams that.
But wouldn't that
Baylor's shown they're actually good.
But wouldn't that be a kick in the teeth? And all of a sudden, we're in the Big 12 championship with 3 losses.
Yeah, talking about it just makes me mad because we shouldn't even be in this position.
That's right. Well, I hope we mentally have what it takes to go in and beat Oklahoma because
they're kind of in shambles too. They just got their butt kicked by Baylor. Their head coach has rumors going to LSU this week.
Well, I tell you what, if I'm Lincoln Riley,
I'm gone. Like LSU is just Bama in different colors. They're just missing a right coach for the right system because they have all the talent
and they have all of the
money,
right? The facilities. I mean, gosh,
they're Texas that actually uses their
So
Texas beating Texas, Kansas. We got to talk about it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Does that kind of diminish like the fun of the Texas game? It's like, all right, that wasn't as special of a night, but the moment was. But then they go the next week and lose to Kansas.
That's just I called it. I said I think they could lose to Kansas at the last podcast. I mean, I think it's they're a snowball running downhill right now. I mean, they can't get it turned around. And I think they've lost the team. They don't care. That recording of their defensive coordinator, whoever it was, yelling at the players in the bus. And what I told you last week, there's a guy that called in to a radio show saying that the defensive players are running off the field laughing when we were kicking their butts. So they're done. I mean, and Kansas had nothing to lose.
They had 2 5-star recruits on official visits, Snapchatting and laughing at Texas.
Oh,
and
boy.
Posting it on Twitter.
Oh, boy.
That was funny. But, yeah, I mean, we have relatives that are Texas fans, but I don't know. It's just – they're really fun to make fun of because they have all the tools, but just they're like literally Nebraska, but have buttloads more money than Nebraska does.
So when Texas and Oklahoma go into the SEC,
do you think
they're middle of the road SEC team at best?
Do you think they delay because they could easily just muster up the money to leave for next year? Do you think they'll go actually to 2025 because if Lincoln Riley leaves and Sarkisian's just running the program to the ground that's already was pretty close to the ground? Do you think they delay going to the SEC because they could just get
I hope they do.
Absolutely get murdered.
I hope they do. Wouldn't that be awesome if they come in? We got a Texas that's a mess next year and a new coach at Oklahoma.
Yeah, that'd be. But
And we get Oklahoma at home.
I'm still excited for the new Big 12, though. I think that'll be.
Oh, Cincinnati will come in and just destroy Oklahoma. Next year. I mean,
Oklahoma is just a quarterback away from figuring it out because they have all these athletes. Just sling it to them. Their defense is terrible, like usual, but
I think they're just having a hard time. Like I've said before, they're having a hard time managing those egos.
Yeah, you live in the Instagram society. Like, you need the highlights. If you promise me that I'm coming to school and I'm going to have these highlights, and then I get attention that way, but when the results aren't there and like you get benched, and then you're Spencer Rattler, you were on the TV series going to high school, you're supposed to be the golden child, and now that you were the Heisman finalist coming in the season, and you get benched at Texas 2 years in a row, and then like an 18-year-old kid who didn't even play high school football the year before comes in and absolutely takes your job from you, and then that guy loses to Baylor at Baylor, and then they put Spencer Rattler back in, and Spencer looked like the same player like a month and a half ago. A month and a half ago.
Whatever it was.
So this game has a lot less meaning to it, but Gus Johnson, Joe Cloud on the call, and it's still a pretty – it's like Oklahoma's older rival. We kind of taken over the Okie State, like with success-wise the last couple of years, because it's a meaningful game. And I don't know. It'd still be I would love to beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma one more time, but it wouldn't be as special as what I thought was going to happen the year before we even started the year.
If we can do it, we're helping push Lincoln Riley to LSU, I think. I mean, or wherever he wants to go.
But if I was him, I'd take it today.
Yeah.
Take it today, leave.
Right.
Like, Oklahoma's fans, doesn't take much for them to implode. Like, Lincoln Riley brought you Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, all these Heismans, and you are just giving up because they lost to Baylor, who's a halfway decent crap, like pretty good. They might win the Big 12 good.
Baylor. I don't remember the years after Bob Stoops left, when whoever that guy was that came in, and Oklahoma was not very good for a while.
Bob Stoops.
When
Lincoln Riley took over for Bob Stoops.
No, there was a guy. Bob
Stoops.
Was it before Bob Stoops then?
Yeah, you might have been.
There was a coach there. There was a coaching change in Oklahoma.
Was it because there's one guy, Barry Schweitzer?
I'm going to Google it. Yeah, it might have been. Maybe it was between Barry Schweitzer and Bob Stoops.
How
many years was Bob Stoops there, though? I mean,
am
that flipping old that I can't remember that.
Like almost 18 years.
Yeah, no. But I remember this guy.
Because it was Kirk Ferentz, the longest tenure at college.
Somebody is on driving in their car screaming into their radio right now because they know the answer to this.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't.
It was It was
there's a guy.
Mangina.
It was kind of like the whole Kansas State thing where who was that guy that when Snyder left that it was a mess for a while.
I don't know.
Oh that gosh, now it's too late. It's too late.
When that happened.
I should have taken some ginkgo biloba or something before this. So
that doesn't matter. Let's move on.
So all right, keep going then. I'll find it. It was Bob Stoops. So who am I thinking of?
Yeah.
It's Gary Gibbs. Gary Gibbs came in and
Gary Gibbs
was the coach.
I am Gary Gibbs. I want to come to Oklahoma.
I think that's right.
Gary Gibbs.
He was the head coach at Oklahoma from 89 to 94.
Was he just terrible for their standards? But then Bob Stoops was from Iowa, so they picked him from Iowa to come to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I should have done my research on this more, but I knew there was a coach in between so Oklahoma went backwards when they had a coaching change, similar to what happened when Kansas State. They had Howard Schnellenberger was there too. Goodness, this is bad. This is bad podcasting, but. He was there. Gibbs' squad struggled to build success off two moderate successful seasons, 91 and 93. 91 they were 9-3. And in 92 they were 5-4. So it would be nice to imagine that happens if Lincoln Riley leaves and they bring in some putz that doesn't do anything and all of a sudden they're at the bottom of the SEC. That would be hilarious.
That's where our society nowadays, everything has to be a quick fix. There's no quick fixes unless you already have like LSU or can't like what's his face?
We're struggling tonight, man. Sorry, guys.
Auburn coach that left us, or the Auburn coach, Cam Newton, Gene Chizik.
Yeah.
Gene Chizik, Tory Morrissey hid under his under his cookout thing when there was a party there in Gilbert or something. So,
oh boy,
unless you're like that, where you land Cam Newton and then you just walk in, win a national championship, and then you're like Ed Orgeron, you have Joe Burrow, all these NFL receivers, and then you have just a spark in the fan and win a national championship, like that will. Yeah, I don't know.
Bergeron just won a national championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, he got fired already.
Yeah, I know. It's just insanity.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, this game is I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm sick.
Ron Prince was the guy at Kansas State. Thank you. Ron Prince was the guy that came in for 3 years and ran Kansas State in the ground. Then they had to resurrect Bill Snyder.
Yeah, speaking of Kansas State fans, they have been annoying as hell on Twitter. Yeah. They just can't get over. Iowa State and Kansas State fans are fighting more now than I've ever seen this week on Twitter. I'm not sure why.
I haven't looked, and I don't care.
Yeah, probably like 2% of our audience understands what I'm talking about. Maybe
wasn't that the Rob Gray? Was he fighting with somebody? I heard that something too. So
yeah, so this game.
Yeah, well, at least we got the A-team color guys. The announcers. We don't have to deal with what we've dealt with the last couple of weeks. I mean,
that's true.
So
it's brutal.
11 o'clock, and we're going to be driving across Nebraska. We got to figure out how we're going to handle that too. So
yep. So I don't really. I mean, we're sick. I'm sick of predicting because I'm wrong.
I'm not going to predict. No,
because
somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. That's my prediction.
If our D-backs keep playing the way they are, we are going to lose by 80. Because if we can't guard this third-string quarterback from Texas Tech, how are we going to stop these 5 stars?
Well, we need to get somebody to get loose in our secondary too, because Campbell's talking about how Texas Tech was putting 9 in the box. Man, you got 9 in the box. Somebody's got to be open.
Yeah, I think Trig Milton.
And I tell you, Kohler is playing his butt off right now. I mean, he is, and Campbell referred to him as Chuck again this week, which I still think is hilarious. But he's saying, and I noticed that too. I thought Kohler was just doing everything he could to possibly help us win, along with Chase Allen and those guys.
I'm not a huge fan of Baylor or Oklahoma coming off a loss to them playing us at home. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that. Yeah, be nice to show 2 losses in a row. Be kind of nice.
Yeah.
And since we're not going to play in the Big 12 championship, this is the last time we'll play them. Who knows when? Yeah. If not, if they leave the conference, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I really want to see us to win out, and that would get us to 8-4. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a disappointing year. If we have a disappointing year at 8-4, we would have taken that 5 years ago in a heartbeat.
But with the best quarterback we've ever had, with arguably the best running back we've ever had, the best tight end we've ever had, there's just a lot of marquee guys that we thought would leave. Obviously the goal was them coming back to the Big 12 championship and winning against Oklahoma. Payback, beat him twice in a row. That'd have been nice, but
everybody else has got scholarship players too. That's the way it is.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. What just makes it hurt more is because last year our fan base couldn't enjoy the whole season because of COVID, and they have half capacity, and we finally have our fan base behind our team. We thought this is just gonna be one big party. But it doesn't work out like that.
I've always tried to look at it from the player's perspective, and I think that's the parent in me that when I watch, like we've talked about it before, when Hasheem Young got kicked out of the Big 12 championship game, how I felt for him as a human being. My son just played in the semifinals of the state and came home and was bearing the burden of the loss. He was blaming himself all of the time about the loss, and still is, and that's a high school kid doing that. I'm sure these college kids do the same thing, but then you get all of the peripheral things that there's people probably sending a message on Twitter or Instagram and all that other crap. And
but the difference between this team and other SC teams, we have our marquee guys are going to play on Sundays.
Right, but that's not guaranteed either.
Careers aren't ending.
Yeah, but that's not guaranteed. I mean, I'm talking about. They're disappointed too. I mean, I think we've all got to keep a little bit of perspective here. Is that we're not the ones that have been we've been shucking out the money for the tickets and shucking out the donations and, all of that crap, but we're not the ones that have been, in the weight room and doing all of the off-season training and then have to deal with these results. I mean,
but I'm not, by no means am I complaining. I'm just like, it's just disappointing.
No,
we set ourselves up for this. The media set this up for this.
And I'm just saying we just all need to have a little perspective on it. And that's, I'm disappointed too. I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed, but
like we were disappointed in the UAB loss, but then we saw the opposite of that in last year in basketball. Like we know, like we're disappointed there, but there's way worse. We can be way worse.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, you want to transition, talk about basketball for a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk about basketball.
We got a game we're going to watch here in about 40 minutes. So
yeah, my first experience seeing TJ, the new TJ era. We've been cheering for it for a long time, to say the least. Me and Michael and you. It was different because there's a new PA announcer.
That's going to be weird going in there.
It was weird.
I didn't go. I know you went. But.
The guy will do a great job. It's just the first time it's just weird. Just like
right.
I'm just like. You didn't realize how important that other guy was to like the whole atmosphere. Right. The whole still guy's learning. There's some nitpicky things that I'm just like a dork Iowa State fan that I pick out. Yeah. Because like I'm just used to like Monte Morris being called last, like Jamal Tinsley.
I don't think that's the announcer's call though.
But I'm saying like they drag it out like Deontay Garrett, like Monte Morris. But now it's just like Tristan Aruna. I'm like,
I think I just figured out why you didn't get the job.
No, I'm saying like the last guy is supposed to be the point guard, the best player on the team. Yeah, like we got to figure it out. Like it's not that hard. There's just some nitpicky things, but
you mean they didn't go and Percy Gibson? They didn't do that.
It was just it was nice. It doesn't take much for Hilton to get loud.
Right.
We have hustle plays for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
We actually play defense now. We like last year we had all the weaknesses. We were bad shooting. We couldn't shoot. Didn't have a point guard. Couldn't play defense. There was no crowd, so we couldn't really feed out the crowd. And bad coach. But now we have our fan base back, a new coach, and the new lighting. Not a big fan of that either, but got the clone cone back.
The expensive nuts.
Yeah, just like the diving on the floor, the crowd getting amped. Like finally, it was just and beating Oregon State, who played in the Elite Eight last year.
He's got a coach that is like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until after the game where they were in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when I had COVID.
Yeah, it was. I love Hilton Coliseum.
Yeah,
it's a special place, and I can't wait for it to be like peak Hilton, where it's fully like there's a lot of people there. I didn't think for the season we had last year to having that be our second game, like that's impressive.
Yeah, I liked, I've been screaming for 2 years now that our offense was horrible under Prom, and the first 2 games under TJ just set out. I mean, it made me showed to myself that I might have been right, because our offense was so bad on, if you guys remember last year, we would pass it around a couple of times and then stand there and watch Rasheer Bolton, which is another story, stand there and dribble and do a high screen and roll and get nothing out of it. And I actually counted a couple times last year. We would have possessions with 1 or 2 passes.
Yeah.
But now we're reversing the ball multiple times with no dribbles. It makes it a lot harder on the defense if you reverse the ball, because when you stand there and dribble, they don't have to do anything. They just have to keep track of the ball and stop the ball. We're reversing the ball. We're playing hard. I'm mad as hell that we had to endure the last couple of years. TJ should have been the head coach from day one after Fred left. I think we would have been in a much better place right now. God even knows who TJ. I'm assuming TJ would still be here if that was the case, because he probably would have blown up nationally a little more. But I am as excited for the future of Iowa State basketball as I've been in a long time.
Yeah, but the difference between this year is like Condit looks way better. Robert Jones, they're running the floor. We have a point guard. Like Bolden wasn't point guard.
No.
Now he's in Gonzaga playing.
Starts for Gonzaga.
He's playing his own position now, not point guard. Nick Babb was not a point guard.
You want us to do what ifs? What if Rasheer Bolton is still on this team? He said he was going to stay.
No, I'm done.
No, but I'm serious. But I didn't think he would play at Gonzaga, and obviously he was good. And he's good enough to play. He's playing 32 minutes.
I don't even care. Like,
right.
I want,
but anyways,
I want new faces, like we have a whole starting five who was on the team last year.
Right.
That's what I want. Just none of the old. Condit's the only one I want when he's playing good on our team. We run the floor.
Because Condit's an energy guy.
Looks way better. Feeds off the crowd. He's the only player.
He's gonna get teed up soon.
Yeah, he will get teed up. We got Gabe Croucher who talks smack all he can. I love it.
I love Brockington. Brockington looks like he's an MMA fighter.
Yeah, I mean Brockington's like a lower version of DeAndre Kane. DeAndre Kane was the best player in the country. Brockington is huge. He rebounds. He plays defense. He's the perfect guy.
And I hope Robert Jones turns into the 6'11" Dustin Hogue that I hoped he would be. I mean, he had a terrific block in the last game. I mean,
he's impressive too.
Yeah,
he looks like a Joakim Noah out there. He looks exactly like Joakim Noah.
Yeah, he does.
From the balcony, he looks exactly like him.
So when TJ ran out, did he get a big?
There was no like pump up song. There was no Let It Rock. It was just him coming out, just him to clap, which was the first thing I noticed when Steve came, because like Fred was a whole ordeal. Like,
right. Yeah. Johnny before.
Yeah. I think he did it because Johnny did that.
Yeah.
It's like get a song that you play every time. It's easy to clap to because Iowa State fans love to clap to slow beats and Let It Rock. There was nothing like that. We got to get TJ a song. But I don't know, like the coaches think that's so annoying because when Campbell first got here, we were like, all right, what's the uniforms to be? What are you walking out to? Like, well, we have players and like we're trying to win. Like that doesn't really matter, but I'll talk about it. But yeah, it's just it's exciting. I love Iowa State basketball, and it's fun and our women's basketball is good too.
Yep. And I watched a little bit of them last night. I fell asleep, but they're really good.
Awesome.
I mean, she is so good, man. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll find out really fast how good we are. I mean, as we go along here, and again, we just got to stay healthy, and he's got to figure out a way to keep him fresh. And
but we have hope. Tyrese Hunter is the most athletic.
Really good.
I can't remember the most Lindell wasn't a point guard, but Tyrese Hunter is the most athletic point guard since when? Christensen.
Boy, he can jump a lot higher than Curtis could.
Yeah, no.
I mean, Curtis was just he was like a Brees Hall on the basketball floor.
Tyrese Hunter's a built 18-year-old. He's not like Monte. Yeah. Monte came in like 135 pounds and broke an NCAA record still. But Tyrese Hunter, that's like another thing we got to get out of our minds before the season starts. Tyrese Hunter will turn it over a little bit. Sure. Monte was Monte Morris. Like we can't compare him. He's wearing the same number. Yeah. Sure, it's easy, but take it easy on the kid. He's going to be special down the road. He's got
like a 2-to-1 assist to turnover record, stat, which is pretty good. I mean, for 2 games in.
I'm saying he's just going to be special.
He's going to turn it over.
Because the first dunk they had, I'm like, holy cow. And then Hilton got behind that. We got hustle plays. I love good Iowa State basketball to watch in person.
And we can't set ourselves up for a fall here. I mean, we are not going to be in the Final Four.
No,
I mean, so we
just be more fun to watch. That's all. That's the bar for me this year.
Be in the hunt.
Show us hope because like Steve's like Liddell, Cam year, like they weren't really good, but they shot like we have talent. We're gonna be okay. We have Taylor Tucker, Tyrese. Well, I think we got that Eli King and the hometown kid Taylor Lipsey next year.
Yeah, I think they said that. I think I read that. Tyrese is the first true freshman to start since Taylor Horton Tucker.
Really?
Yeah. So, it should be fun. I'm hoping.
I hope this is now outdated because we're doing this right before the game. Hopefully, we just don't lay an egg tonight. We're like 16, 17.
Playing. I don't think we're going to do that. I mean, I just don't.
I'm just hoping that.
Yeah. I mean, I think with some of the paring down of the roster that TJ did to build the culture, I think that's working. I mean, it seems like he's got a bunch of competitors that get along, and I tell you what about Trey Jackson? Yeah. He's a different person altogether. I mean, he looked fantastic the other night.
I just think it's the crowd. Like, if you have bad culture, like it can be covered up by the crowd because last year, obviously, didn't have the culture. They played hard, but it just wasn't there because, like, when you have bad plays and you're not the better team, but when Hilton comes, it doesn't take much of the crowd to be like, all right, let's go.
Right.
But when there's no crowd, like, I don't want that ever again.
Yeah.
I want our fan base by there because Hilton shows that fans matter, students matter when they show up, and they can make a difference. And Oregon State saw that on Friday last week.
Yeah. And Oregon State couldn't shoot a free throw to save their life. Lord.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a very, two teams that are going to get a lot better, in my opinion. I think Oregon State's going to get a lot better than what they showed. But it's just early in the season. I think everybody, it's probably a shock to the kids when they go on the road to play in front of a crowd when they didn't have to play in front of a crowd last year.
Yeah, this will be the first time in like 2 years since like high school from some of these sophomores.
Right. Yeah. So, think of your little brother. He played in front of one big crowd last year, the sub-state final game, where there was actually everybody was in the stands, and it was a completely different atmosphere, even for a high school game. So
for his sake, I think it's easier to shoot when there's no crowd because you're not playing off anything. You're just playing off your own mind, and like I'm making this. You like especially away games, like for high school, I feel like that's way easier. Like we're better than you guys. You guys, no one behind you to like cheer you up.
Yeah,
we're just gonna show it to you. I feel like Humboldt did that last year, and a lot of college teams did it last year because you can go into an empty arena like they know we're better than them, and we're going to show it to them, and no one's going to encourage them. But it
was such an AAU feel last year. I mean, you had guys cheerleading, doing that obnoxious AAU clap crap on that drove me crazy when you were playing AAU and your brothers. I mean, having them do all of these little cheerleading stuff on the bench. I mean, that just drives me bananas.
It didn't really help them out. It didn't help Iowa out in the NCAA tournament because Oregon beat them pretty badly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have hopefully we're not going on our next podcast talking about Alabama State's upset. So shouldn't be.
Or
we're favored like by 18.
Hopefully we're come back. Brees has 200 yards rushing against Oklahoma. Yeah. Lincoln Riley leaves to LSU on Sunday next week because he doesn't want to deal with OU fans anymore. And,
we did get to see one of the Iowa State recruits up close and personal Saturday, Will McLaughlin from Harlan. We watched him play. And
he's a big dude for
big kid for a high school kid. I mean, playing a defensive end. Fast. He went from the line to blocking a PAT as fast as I've ever seen it. He just forearm shivered one of our kids and went in and could have intercepted the snap almost. I mean, so it was funny. He is pretty good.
I wanted him to be a bust so bad before the game, just for one night.
Just for one night.
Didn't happen.
Not anymore. I'm a big fan of Will McLaughlin. I mean,
didn't happen.
Do what you want, dude. I mean, we've got a kid on our team that's got a preferred walk-on. I actually offer, and I think he was actually talking to Will towards the end of the game during a timeout. I'm sure they know each other, but that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was fun. Nothing like playing in the Dome. I mean, that's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, I don't know, like state basketball. There's something missing there. Like
it's just too big of an arena.
Too big of an arena. Yeah. There's not enough energy. Like if you get a smaller capacity, it'll be way better, way louder.
I tell you what, the Dome though. I mean, I saw our kids last night, and the Dome beats the living crap out of your body. Yeah. I mean, our kids were so beat up and said that they were more sore after that game than ever just from hitting that turf in the Dome. And I saw our quarterback just look like he'd been drugged by a truck. He has so much road rash on him. That place has got to be hard on your body if you're playing at UNI full time. I mean, yeah, it was. It's such a loud place too. I mean, there's not a very good acoustics in there. The bathrooms at the Unidome are horrendous. I mean, they are from 1955. They've got to do something about that.
They just have like 3 buckets in there, and each person rinsing it out.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was fun though. I mean, Iowa high school does a lot of things well, and they definitely do the Dome thing well. I mean,
me playing in state basketball, it's just like we have the whole town there, and you're on the court and it's quiet because it's so loud. It's so huge that you can't, because that's why Hilton's so special, because they have that ceiling that's flat, and it's just, I don't know. There's got to be something, but no one's going to address it, because when you have an arena that's not tied to any university, like they're going to pick that, because like UNI is the only dome we have. That's easy.
Right. So I think one of the reasons that it's got to be in Wells Fargo is because of hotels. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason that we are not going to host a men's NCAA tournament game in Ames. It's because of hotels. And same thing with
selfishly, I want it in Hilton. That'd be so awesome.
It would be fun if it was. Yeah. Or imagine if it was in the Cloud Center at Sioux Falls and you only brought 2 teams in at a time.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be awesome too. But it was fun.
But no one asks us for the answers, do they?
They never do.
Someday it will, and the world will be a better place, maybe.
Well, we're wrapping this thing up.
Yep.
Don't forget about our sponsor, or guys that were our partners, chewworks.com. You know the drill. The notes or the promos are in the show notes. grandviewbeef.com. I know they had a little problem with their website this week, and they apologized for it publicly, and they're great people. So support these small businesses in Iowa, especially around the holidays here. Those guys would appreciate it tremendously, and so would we.
All right. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.